It's been 6 years since the release of Halloween 2018, the anniversary event film, the comeback of Jamie Lee Curtis. After 6 years, I think it's time we set the record straight on Halloween H20. Hey, what is up everybody? Nick here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about Halloween H20. Now, if you've followed me for any amount of time, you know that I've always had a really weird relationship with Halloween H20. So let me give you a peek behind that curtain. See, when I was a kid and a teenager, I loved Halloween H20, and I viewed Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween H20 as like the golden trilogy. That was what I went to. That was what I preferred. Though Halloween 5 was probably my favorite sequel, even as a kid, I preferred the trilogy of 1, 2, and H20 over pretty much every other timeline in this series. But as I got older, and specifically leading up to the release of Halloween 2018, I started to really sour on it. There's a lot of things about H20 that I think are fair criticisms, and we'll talk about some of those, but I started to sour on it. And then in recent years, I've really come back around and been like, you know what? H20 is actually pretty damn good, and I would argue is the event film over Halloween 2018. Look, this is not to take anything away from Halloween 2018. As you guys can tell, I am a huge Halloween fan. This is my bread and butter. This is my series. So I, like everybody else, was super stoked at the announcement of Halloween 2018 and Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. But I think part of that is because when H20 came out, I was a little kid. So I don't remember the hype for that. I wasn't a Halloween fan yet. But at this point, 20 years later, I was. I got to live through that hype. I got to experience that return, that anniversary event film in person, the lead up to it, and then opening night in the theater. And that was a really big deal to me at the time. But as time has gone on, I just feel like Halloween 2018 has made me look back on H20 so much more fondly. 18 was a huge success, critically and commercially, and most fans agreed that it was at least decent. It was a nice return for Michael Myers, and it brought the series back to respectability. Although I loved Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it is easily my number 2 in the franchise, I am not naive enough to say that Rob Zombie left the franchise in a good place, because he almost certainly did not. A lot of people were upset, the movie underperformed, fans hated it, critics hated it. It was just at a low point, and I appreciate and thank Blumhouse and David Gordon Green and everybody involved for bringing Halloween back in a respectable way. But as the years have gone on, I feel like I can definitively say that H20 is the better anniversary film as opposed to Halloween 2018. And I say that for a few reasons. Look, let's get the negatives out of the way first. We could complain about the masks in H20, and everybody does, and rightfully so. We can complain about them cribbing off of Scream and using literal music cues from the Scream movies. I complain about it, everybody does. Fair criticism. We can complain about some of the side characters that are kind of paper thin and you don't really care about. Sure, great. We can even complain about the Michael Myers silhouette that is absolutely positively Michael Myers, but actually LL Cool J. Look, there are plenty of things to nitpick about Halloween H20. We can also complain about a lot of things with Halloween 2018. But I feel like the complaints that you can have with Halloween 2018 aren't there with Halloween H20. And I feel like that is what makes H20 better. See, first and foremost, in my opinion, I think that it is undoubtedly Jamie Lee Curtis's best performance as Laurie Strode in the series. I don't think anybody would really argue with that. Even if you hate Halloween H20, it is her best performance. You get so many layers to Laurie Strode as a character in this movie. You get to see her frightened. You get to see her vengeful. You get to see her overprotective. And you get to see her as a badass. You get to see every range of Laurie Strode. And I really, really liked that. This was the only time at this point we really got to see the damaged Laurie Strode. We actually got to get into her psyche a little bit. And Jamie Lee just delivers an all-timer performance in this movie. You also have the added benefit of them being brother and sister, okay? That is a big deal because the trauma that Laurie has and the fear and the anger that she harbors makes so much more sense when it's her brother because she genuinely does believe that he will find her one day because he wants to, because there's this connection. She feels like she can't outrun him. I personally just feel like that raises the stakes so much higher. Whereas opposed to Halloween 2018, I've said this many times on my channel, it's just not as realistic for me. And again, this is not me wanting to throw shade at anybody for how they process trauma. Everybody does differently. But in 2018's timeline, it was 40 years ago. He's been incarcerated for 40 years. There is no connection between the two of them. And yet, she has created a fortress waiting for him to break out in his mid to late 60s. If he was going to do it, wouldn't he have done it by then? I mean, it's more of a stretch. And for her to be so obsessed with him after all that time, it just didn't make as much sense to me. And it was a hard sell for me. H2O, you don't have that problem. Another thing about Halloween H2O that I feel like is so much better than Halloween 2018, and it's not even 2018's fault, is simply just that was the first anniversary film for Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. It had been done 20 years before. See, it kind of loses its luster. I even remember when 2018 was announced, I was like, but we had H2O, like, this isn't necessarily new. And then it was like, oh, wait, they're not going to be brother and sister, and only the original Halloween is canon. I was actually kind of trepidatious about that. But, you know, it was like, okay, I'm here, I'm along for the ride. But again, it's not even H18's fault, but H2O had just done it before, and I feel like it mattered so much more in 98 for a lot of people that were such huge fans of the first two movies. I just feel like it was a bigger deal. Now, maybe not in pop culture. Again, I don't know. I wasn't old enough at that time to really have memory of it. I was 4 years old. But I just feel like that was a bigger deal. And when you repeat a trick, it's never as enticing or exciting as the first time you've seen the trick. You know, I did a video not long ago when I was talking about the Laurie Strode problem and what I feel like was the best direction for the character and why. And I settled on the brother-sister thing. And I feel like that's the largest reason for this argument I'm making here, is that I just feel H2O is so much more connected to the first two movies in so many ways, even if just those two characters, and the way Jamie Lee plays it, and the way, honestly, that they go about fleshing out her character. She's moved away. She's changed her name. She has a kid. She's trying to protect him. She, all the while, is terrified that he's going to come back. And when the rubber meets the road, you know, she's ready to go. And I just think that all of that H2O structurally just makes it so much more powerful for me than 2018 was. I think you could make the case, and you'd probably be right, that technically speaking, 2018 is a better film. It has the better mask, it has the better fall atmosphere, it has the better score, it has all of that. But it doesn't have the heart that H2O had. And for all of H2O's flaws, and believe me, there are many, I feel like that heart drives this movie. And I feel like that heart sets this movie above 2018. And if you were to ask me 5 years ago, I might have probably picked 2018. But now that I've had time to sit on it, I think H2O is the anniversary event film for Halloween. It is the superior one, and it is probably the one that I'm going to revisit more than 2018. That's not to say that I think that the next film, Halloween Resurrection, was worth it. No, I mean, if H2O was what got us that, you know, hey, H2O, you're kind of a dick, but that's more Mustafa Akkad's fault. It's perfectly acceptable, and I would even argue necessary, to point out the flaws in Halloween H2O. We should not put this movie on a pedestal as if it is some fantastic, incredible all-timer movie, because it has its warts. But I think compared to 2018, like I said, the driving force behind it, the heart, the performances, and the connective tissue just make it the superior return for the character of Laurie Strode. But I want to hear down below in the comment section what you guys think. Did you have a similar journey to me? Did you love H2O? Did you fall out of love with it? And did 2018 make you appreciate it more? Or did 2018 make you look back on H2O and go, you know what? I think I prefer the route 2018 went. But I want to hear that down below, so discuss with me. Please leave a like on this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.